those people that are going to see it later. Thank you for joining us. I don't know whether we'll go for the full hour and a half. I think we've got probably a 45-minute agenda, and we'll do what we can with the agenda that we have. And if we need to deep dive into certain areas, we'll keep it high level. But if we do need to deep dive, we will. And so thank you for joining us. What I'd like to do is just do a shout out to folks so we can do some self-introductions, and we'll try to kind of do a roll call for people to know who's in the room. And let me call your name, and just if you wave and say hi and talk about what you do or who you're with, that would be great. Sasha, let's start with you.
Hey, I'm Sasha Burrows, Communications Associate with the BCPC.
And then Bill Simmons with BCPC as well. Jamie, you're to my right. Why don't we go to you next? Jamie Fleming.
Jamie Fleming with the Ojai Valley Chamber of Commerce. Our role in Ojai is our partnership with the city is to actually handle the broadband and attend these meetings, et cetera. So we're always happy to be here.
Thank you for joining us. Miguel Perez, City of Santa Paula.
Good morning, guys. I'm Miguel Perez. I work out of the city manager's office as the management intern, and I'm also an AmeriCorps fellow, where we deal with broadband and, just keeping the conversation going in our communities to, bridge the digital divide. Happy to be here.
Miguel, it's great that you guys got that grant application out this last week, and happy to support the cause there.
Thank you for the help. I appreciate it.
Jeffrey Lambert.
Hi, everybody. Jeff Lambert, Ventura County Community Foundation, and part of the Bill Simmons fan club. So happy to be here.
That's too funny. Shelby Arthur, you're next.
Hi, Shelby Arthur, working with BCPC also. I'm up in Santa Barbara County, smack dab in the center. So I do a lot of work in North County and South County, trying to bring all of their stuff in together.
And then, hi, Lisa Ludovici. Good to see you.
Good morning, Bill. Good morning, everyone. I'm Lisa Ludovici, Director of Government Affairs for Charter Communications in Central and Northern California.
Thank you for joining us. And Rich Graysick is next.
Yeah, Rich Graysick from the City of Lompoc, Broadband Services Administrator there. Yeah, we're working on getting some adoption plans put together, and we're working on our live application right now too.
Raja Bamrungpong.
Well said. Good morning, everybody. Raja Bamrungpong. I'm the Assistant CIO with Ventura County.
Congratulations. I think you're fairly new to that post, and it's good that you're here.
Yes, thank you. It's good to be here.
And Gary Smart's next.
Gary Smart, County Santa Barbara Public Works.
Okay, thank you for joining us. Alan Cazares, I think I just met you this week or last week.
Yes, thank you, Bill. Alan Cazares, Transportation Planner with San Luis Obispo Council of Governments, MPO for the San Luis Obispo County.
Congratulations on finding us and joining us. We're glad you're here. Tim Tierney, you're next.
Hello, everybody. My name is Tim, and I'm doing mapping and GIS support for the Broadband Consortium.
And next, probably the guy that's got the farthest distance from us, that's Mr. Tim Williams. Are you where I think you're at?
I am. I'm in Sevilla, Spain right now. So it's 8:30 p.m. Nice to see you all. Tim Williams, I'm the Vice President of Expansion for Astound Broadband, which is formerly Digital West. And good to see you all.
And I can't believe the dedication at 8:30 at night to dial into this meeting with us. Stephen Sawyer, you're next.
Hi, Bill. Thanks, everybody. Stephen Sawyer, Director of Government Affairs for Charter Communications in the Ventura County and North Los Angeles County areas.
Okay. Austin Skipper.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for the introduction. My name is Austin. I am actually a representative of a local internet provider, Ranch Wi-Fi. I was asked to sit in on this to see what I can learn and how we might be able to help moving forward.
Austin, when you say local, do you mean Ventura, Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo?
San Luis Obispo County.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
And Julie Judd.
Hi, everybody. Julie Judd, Chief Technology Officer for the Ventura County Office of Education, driving to Long Beach and back to pick up my sister. So I will be listening attentively. Bill, if you have to call on me, try not to.
Okay.
I don't think I can drive and talk at the same time.
I've been there, done that. I can totally relate, and we'll refer to you sternly.
I would like to echo the sentiments about being a card-carrying member of the Bill Simmons fan club.
Thank you. Will Murat, you're next.
Yeah, Will Murat with Magellan Advisors. We have a number of clients in the region, County of Ventura, a few other cities, about to start a project with San Luis Obispo, the city. So here to obviously help our clients move some regional projects forward and hear what everyone else has going on. Thanks.
And Kristen Hughes.
Hello. Hi, my name is Kristen Hughes. I'm a pediatrician with the Santa Barbara Public Health Department. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Kristen. It was good to talk to you a couple of weeks ago and appreciate you being here. Megan Beresford.
Hi, I'm Megan Beresford. I am the Director of Broadband Programs at Learn, Design, Apply. We are a grant consulting and management firm and working with BCPC in a grant consulting capacity.
And you'll be hearing a little bit more from Megan in just a few moments. Let's see. John with AT&T.
Hey, good morning, Bill. Thanks. Good morning, everyone. John Heffernan with AT&T's External Affairs team, pinch hitting for Monica Gibbs. I'm sure many of you know she covers San Luis Obispo, Santa Barbara, Ventura, and Kern counties, and she's currently out on leave tending to her growing family.
Jeff Moresic.
Morning, everybody. Jeff Moresic. I'm the Chief Information Officer for the City of Santa Maria, trying to bring broadband to everybody with Bill's help.
And John Elazin.
Hi, good morning, late morning, everyone. John Elassen, Carpinteria Public Works Director and the City Engineer. Thank you.
And Jory Wolf.
Good morning, everyone. Jory Wolf with Magellan Advisors, assisting cities and counties throughout the state of California and the Western U.S. I'm very glad to be here and have worked with a number of the cities and working currently with the county in helping them with their broadband planning, design engineering, and hopefully project management while we construct broadband throughout the region.
Did I get everybody? Oh, Terry Theobald's just joining us. And we'll have him do his brief introduction and then we'll dive in. Terry, you just need to kind of wave or do your self-introduction, and you just joined us at the right time before we were moving on in the agenda.
Shoot, can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you see me?
No, but your option.
All right. Hi, Terry Theobald, CIO of Ventura County.
Okay, thank you, everybody. I think we're, and did I get everybody? Leave anybody out? We're good. Okay. So I want to keep this at a high level. May just be, I think I was mentioning at the very beginning, we may have about 45 minutes of topics to discuss, and then if we want to deep dive into certain areas, we can. But in the meantime, we'll hit the high points, and just thank you for being here. Maria Kelly's just joined us, and so maybe she can do a shout out in terms of a self-introduction as well, and as we move forward. There she is.
Good morning. I'm at the Starbucks in Buellton.
Where would we be without mobility?
Without my mobile hotspot.
Yeah. So, all right. And so, looking at the agenda, and we'll try to get through the agenda fast so we can go back to Hollywood Squares here. introductions we just completed. We're going to do a quick run through in terms of CPUC. We're going to allow Megan to give us a real thorough professional update in terms of funding and some of the things on the books heading our way and where we're at, and kind of do a tease of a webinar we're going to have in the future. I want to talk a little bit about how things are stacking up across the 3 counties, what we're seeing and the opportunities ahead. There is a difference between the word collaborative and coalition, and we'll talk about that a little bit. And then we'll have a roundtable and any updates that you want to provide. Talking about CPUC, a number of different funding sources are available. Adoption, I believe, is coming back up for a deadline of rolling a submission on January 1. So if you are interested in adoption funding, we have about 60 days in which we can put proposals together and get in terms of coalitions and a lot of the adoption kinds of programs and resources and planning. Those we're really going to be wanting to put some time and attention and focus on writing those kinds of grants. And once again, these grants are fairly straightforward. They're given a spreadsheet. You got to come up with a budget and a work plan within the spreadsheet, but they're turned around very rapidly. And so we're encouraging everybody who's interested to be able to dive in and do this. Public housing, those funds are also available. The Broadband Consortia account, I think we turned it in, I want to say back in May. We've gone through 1 round of questions. Last I heard, it's going to probably, my speculation is going to be after the first of the year before we get our next 3 years of funding. Because it's gone through a similar cycle than what's happened in the past. They asked us, we went through a series of questions after we did our submittal. Right now, as counting this morning, there's 13 different consortia across the state. I expect they'll be wanting to reconcile all 13, 12, 14, whatever that number might be for this next round at the same time and turn us all on at the same time. So I'm thinking it may not be until the early part of next year before we get our next round of CPUC funding. Local area technical assistance grants is going full steam ahead. Congratulations to the County of Ventura for your receipt of one. I know I mentioned Santa Paula has just applied. I know Ventura is in the process of applying. City of San Luis Obispo has applied. We've got a couple in at the county level in Santa Barbara County. I'm sure there's probably 1 or 2 up. Maria, I think Paso and Atascadero applied, right? So yeah, we've had some great pickup in those funds. Just to remind you, it's up to about $500,000 and in terms of the funding, and it's for capacity building. If you've never been in the broadband business and you want to get into the broadband business as a municipality, these are the funds to put you in the business. And then there's the last mile, and the last mile funding, I'm guessing it's going to be probably in the spring. And when all of these funding sources were talked about, I don't know who the people are that are putting these plans together, but I was kind of skeptical. And what I'm seeing is some real thoughtful timing for how these things roll out. We didn't realize that we were going to get in, as we were doing the Santa Barbara strategy and some of our efforts, we didn't realize that LATA would be falling right on top of the work that we were doing, and the timing was perfect. The same kind of thing I think is happening with last mile. That as you get the capacity funding and the funds are available and you can start doing the planning, that's when the last mile funding will start arriving. And so in terms of a lot of the things that are happening today, I'm thinking somebody somewhere is looking at timing, and they put the rules out for last mile months ago. But in terms of when the state's going to be ready and the communities are going to be ready, I think we're looking at it in the next 3 to 6 months. And I just think that there is some timing that people are thinking about in terms of getting everybody ready. And I'm glad it's happening that way. It's about the time we'll be ready, will be about the time we need to be ready. And so these are all important conversations. It's happening fast, and things are on track. And with that, that's my reading the tea leaves, but I'm going to introduce an expert and on this next slide and let her tell you what's happening today, and then her sense of timing and what's happening. Megan, why don't you brief this slide?
Absolutely. So I think, Bill, you gave a pretty good overview of what has been happening with LADA. I checked this morning and they just updated today their total funding that they've received thus far, which looking at is 32.7 million has been requested thus far. But what I've got here is funding landscape. So this is just through the end of the year. Things to think about if you're looking for some in the near future grant opportunities. Bill, as you were saying, last mile probably won't be until, I keep saying maybe late winter of next year, but could be spring. So in the meantime, upcoming, we have USDA Community Connect. That's going to be opening this December. We anticipate 35 million. This is based off kind of historically what we've seen. Historically, the max amount you can request is 3 million. Some special rules in this one is that you must have an anchor institution that offers service, broadband service to the community for free before work hours and after work hours. So that is a condition of the grant. And you also, if you are not a entity that offers retail service, you have to have a partner that will offer retail service. There's a 15% match in this, which is lower than some other ones that you'll see, but it's a great opportunity if you're in a rural area and looking to expand broadband. I will say also it tends to be a bit easier than the USDA Reconnect grant. So if any of you are active in that right now, fear not, this is not as intimidating as the Reconnect. The other opportunity for the end of the year is also USDA. This is their distance learning and telemedicine program. This one's been going on for years and years. It's a pretty well-established one. There's a 10% match and you can request up to $1 million. As stated, it's for distance learning equipment and for telemedicine equipment. So more on the digital equity side of things. One of the rules on this one is that you must be in a population of less than 20,000. Again, a good opportunity if this is something your community needs. And you know, at LDA, what we do is grants, that's our business. And so if you have questions on it after this, please feel free to reach out. Happy to provide some insight. Next slide. So the other thing we do is we teach. So as part of our work with BCPC, we are doing a December webinar that will be all about grant writing. So grant writing and broadband is our bread and butter here. We've got 5 different grant writers who just focus on broadband grants. Unfortunately, we don't have capacity to help everyone who needs it as much as we wish that we could. So this webinar is hopefully to give folks some tips and share some lesson learned on grant writing that can help you prepare for grants going forward and hopefully give you a bit more confidence if that's not something you already have in your grant applications. So we hope that everyone here will be able to attend. It's December 6th at 10 a.m. On the West Coast.
And let me add that Megan, in terms of her approach with clients, it's kind of a buffet. You can do a little, you can do a lot, you can phone a friend. I mean, you know, one extreme, and you know, you can just turn it all over and have them do the whole thing on the other extreme, and anywhere in between. Yep. And so we've used her. I know that Magellan has used her. She's done a great job for a number of folks that have used her and their company, and just want to thank you for the relationship, for the time and the contribution to what we're talking about here.
Absolutely. And I will say for folks on the call, kind of to what you were speaking on, Bill, we often work with internal grant writers with communities. So you may have a grant writer, but we have found that broadband grants are a whole other kettle of fish. So we are very used to working with internal grant writers and hopefully then giving the skills about broadband grant writing that you don't need us in the future. Although we do love having repeat folks. So, but we're, you know, as Bill said, not a one size fits all. We're very custom in how we work with our folks and what level of support you might need. And we hope you come to our webinar.
Any questions? Any comments to add?
Hey, Bill, will that link to the webinar be sent out, or was it in your update you recently sent out this week?
It will be. It has not been sent out yet.
Cool, thanks.
All right. Yeah, that was my question too. How do we register for that webinar?
Yeah.
That'll be coming to us.
Yes.
Okay.
It's a good suggestion to put it up there on the slide. December 6th is still out there quite a bit. I mean, we're having to. That's great. I'm glad that maybe we got to move it up a little bit, just side of Thanksgiving or something.
It
That's
seems
great.
out there, but believe me, it'll be like tomorrow.
It'll happen fast. Good. Any other comments? Okay, I'm going to move forward then and just share an observation that I've got, and then turn it over to Maria for her update, and then Shelby for her update. But one thing that we've discovered, and we're seeing it happening everywhere, but Santa Barbara is where the furthest along in Santa Barbara County, is the different roles. And we've been as a consortium around since 2014, and we've had these kinds of conversations going for quite some period of time. Broadband has been a very complex subject, and our primary function has been to educate. It's to talk about the complexity and talk about all the different aspects and get people familiar with the terms and just to inform and coordinate. But this last year, we really did take a departure and go in a different direction as we started the Santa Barbara County strategy. And what we found, and we're finding it over and over and over again, is two different kinds of organizations are being formed or are being catalyzed, for lack of a better word. We're going to continue doing what we do as a consortia, and that is coordinate, communicate, advocate, you name it, and try to inform. But this idea of a coalition versus a collaborative really lines up with the nuances of broadband as an issue. You've got the infrastructure piece, which IT folks understand, and a number of technical people. I mean, it's a network, it's infrastructure. And then you have the people side, which is a completely different conversation, and the equity aspect and in the areas of need and communities of need, and why does this happen, and community-based organizations and trusted agents and navigators and all of that. And so what we're seeing are, from just the creation of a consortia, is a spinoff of these two other kinds of organizations. And so in the collaborative aspect, the one on the bottom, you're seeing a lot of municipalities coming together. It's happening within SBCAG. They're talking about creating joint powers groups so the municipalities can work together. We've coined the phrase hub and spoke as the model of where the region is working together with the county and dealing with its needs. And I keep coming back to Maria Kelly's vision back in a year ago at this point in time, in which we were putting this all together, and broadband for all was what we were trying to get everybody talking about and aligned with. That's the collaborative aspect, but the coalition aspect is equal to that. And that really is the people side of things. If you build it, will they come? And the answer to the question is yes. You've got to make sure that you build it and they are there. They're ready for it. They're waiting for it. And so we're spending a lot of time right now in coalition building, in addition to the collaborative building. And so organizations like community foundations and the social equity players, and there's a lot of lessons learned. Jeff, you and I have talked about this, where you talk about the complete count, you talk about the vaccination processes. You've aligned the community workers already. Let's send them out to do broadband now. This is the next wave of opportunity that we can have in terms of getting signups and getting to that ultimate goal of broadband for all. So it's very interesting that we're now at the highest level regionally in the three counties wanting to focus on building these organizations. The consortium will always be doing what we do, but we're seeing where foundations can come in and be dealing with digital equity and inclusion and stakeholder alignment, or CBO alignment more, and then the regional organizations, CAGs, COGs, all those folks will be coming in and looking at, let's talk about coordination of projects for infrastructure. So that's just an observation. It's very interesting. Didn't see that coming, but now that we see it, we're sharing it and just putting it out there for you to consider and think about. Comments? Thoughts?
Bill, my only comment is you can take the question mark off of the VCCF line.
Oh,
well, I'm sure we can figure out how to do that.
Good deal. All right. Thank you so much, Jeff. Any other questions or comments?
Hey, Bill, it's John with AT&T. You know, I think the one, and I loved your kind of assessment there and perspective. I think the one refreshing thing we're seeing too is regarding the collaborative efforts around infrastructure with the government agencies is a real, I think, awareness and new sense of willingness around what we've typically heard as public-private partnerships. And there was a sort of a hesitancy to go down that path, or maybe a little bit of confusion or distrust or what have you. But now it seems like everybody's willing to roll up their sleeves and get on board together, especially given the aggressive timelines around some of this state and federal stimulus funding. Thanks.
John, you're absolutely correct. Yeah, and you've said it well with the aggressive timelines. I mean, the year 26 is going to come up on us very fast, and you know that's what everybody's talking about in terms of when we've got to get this stuff built and in place and moving forward. And you know, I've been one of Caltrans's biggest skeptics my entire career, and all of a sudden, I mean, they got the memo. It's amazing, and in fact, they're moving faster than we can keep up. I mean, it's amazing how fast this is all rolling out, and the innovation that's going to be occurring as it does. So it's really something. So with that as a prerequisite, I want to let Maria Kelly come in next and just talk about, you know, give a recap of where we've been, where we're going, where we're at with Santa Barbara County, and what we've learned. Maria.
Thanks, Bill. And to follow up on that other comment about Caltrans, you know, we've met with them again recently, and the commitment and the desire to engage is phenomenal. And running up the corridor of the 101 through all of our 3 counties, it really is imperative that we are in constant communication with them. So really appreciate all the and public entities that have been partnered in that. So we're almost wrapped up with the strategy. I think we finally see the light at the end of the tunnel. We've incorporated all the feedback from the public agencies and entities. We're in the middle of city presentations, scheduling city presentations, making sure that city councils understand what their investments got them through this process as an MOU partner in the SBCAG MOU agreement. Already, actually, even a couple months ago, already discussing and planning for implementation by applying for the LATA grants, by really coalescing with Shelby's leadership, the Digital Equity Coalition, and understanding that the people engagement is going to happen equally as fast as infrastructure. Looking at other grant funding in the city council presentations as we go, definitely making those recommendations at a local level. What do we see as opportunities to increase capacity, if that's the choice of the direction of the council, and what staff feels is feasible. So I think the most important piece as we move forward and the SBCAG and the communities within Santa Barbara County start to move forward on implementation is understanding the importance of ongoing data collection. Part of the work right now is to encourage community members to continue to do the speed testing, as it's, you know, it'll be available for several more months, but also as we just develop metrics to identify our successes or what our goals are for to be considered a success, especially on the digital inclusion work front. Again, a lot of this work that's happened in Santa Barbara County is really important as it moves up into the state's development of a digital equity plan, which is required of them. I believe it's through the NTIA, if I'm not misstated. So the state of California now is getting ready to build their digital equity plan, which means the communities have this opportunity, incredible opportunity to push up into it, which is Santa Barbara County is doing already. So it's pretty exciting to see what we've been able to accomplish in the last year, and excited to present the final deliverable by December 31st. So actually in digital and print and will be available on SBCAG's website.
Drilling down just a little bit, Maria, when we had our conversation with Caltrans, I was on the road, but I mean, it was a great conversation. And I was taken back by the fact that they themselves say this is a moving target. We got to execute at the same time. The rules are changing constantly, you know, and so they plan to do a build, and instead of a build, they may do a lease, and so there's a lot of this is being written in real time.
Exactly, and really looking, hopefully, you know, however the consortium can help support bringing some of the entities together that are right on that middle mile build, but almost everyone's going to be impacted for last mile opportunities. So it really is in the recommendations to every single city council is to stay engaged with SBCAG in those middle mile conversations. It's really important that that's happening right now. The good news that we've in our meeting yesterday with Eric Hunstinger, who's basically doing the overall design, he looks really tired. Really impressed with him, is what they've really committed to, and this is what we really did want to hear, was that even if cities are not prepared, they just are not ready to step up to the plate and engage in that conversation about last mile opportunities, they will build this in such a way that when the cities are available and ready and feel like it's time for them to step into the conversation, they'll be able to tie into that middle mile infrastructure, that open access middle mile infrastructure. So that was great news, because there was some uncertainty in my mind, Bill, when we talked to them before, that they were just basically going to run the fiber and whatever happened, but it sounds like they're going to be a little more mindful about how those, again, we're looking for that redundancy and those resiliency in planning. So where there's opportunities for loops and networks to connect to each other, that's exciting to hear.
Yep, and the cliff notes to the takeaway from that conversation was, in particular, when you look at the Golden State Network right now, it probably represents 50 to 60% of what we locally would think a middle mile ought to look like. I mean, they're doing what they can do at the state level, but they're not getting, it's not a 100% solution. And we agreed that, you know, if we could just keep their map and our map side by side, and then coordinate amongst ourselves the two maps as we continue to take bites out of the elephant, if you will, and make progress in building that middle mile, we would do it together. And so I was really quite impressed with the willingness and the spirit of cooperation to kind of do this together, both locally and from the state's position. But we do have to talk about it and continue that communication.
And one more also really great takeaway from the Caltrans meeting was, you know, we've worked really hard at putting together an open access GIS mapping tool for Santa Barbara County, trying to replicate it in SLO and Ventura counties with very similar data layers to help identify areas of need and opportunity. And the fact that Caltrans wants to continue to engage with us to access our maps, to find out the data we've collected, how can it help provide them insight into some of their work, is a true test of being a good partner, and the fact that Santa Barbara County and SBCAG has been and all the cities have worked so well together. We do have data that we can potentially provide Caltrans that is going to help with some of the work that they're going to be doing, and that's a big compliment to the whole process and project.
To the point of data, this particular map, imagine a world where it's all green. I mean, that's really the point to all of this, is recognizing that in terms of the standards of 100 and 100 and broadband for all, it's the green, it's the yellow and the red areas and the yellow and red dots that we're going to look for being able to resolve in the next couple of years. And that's by having the data collection continuing on an ongoing basis, we can see that change occur. So any questions about what we've talked about infrastructure-wise, Santa Barbara County strategy-wise? Oh, Maria, do you want to talk a little bit about the press release you sent out or have sent out?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Bill. So BCPC is providing support to Northern San Luis Obispo County's broadband strategy between the city of Paso Robles and Atascadero. Similar type of data collection, looking at needs assessment survey and speed testing, just to get a sense of what's happening up in the northern part of the county. Of course, we are hopeful to collect data throughout the county, and we'll look to do that. But in the short term, really focusing on North County so that they can get their strategy completed within the next 3 to 4 months, 3 months. They want to be done by the end of February. So that's where the focus and the push on that data collection is right now, so we can incorporate into what sort of information the cities of Atascadero and Paso Robles need to, start looking at economic development, broadband for all, working with the anchor institutions, and really focusing on that connectivity. So yeah, the press release went out. You'll be looking at us pushing for data collection, and as of this morning, in less than 12 hours, we already had almost 200 respondents. So that's great.
How did you do that? Did you just the local newspaper? Or, I mean, it's amazing that the press release was able to do that. We had 5 requests overnight to be able to join our newsletter, as a result of that press release going out. It was phenomenal. Similar press release will be going out for Ventura County as well. So we've been collecting the data for Santa Barbara County, but we're expanding that, in this week, and we're going to be continuing to open it up for all 3 counties in the months to come. Any other questions, updates related to this before we move on to talk about this? Was we in SBCAG in their emerging role, we were talking about the collaborative and the middle mile and the last mile connectivity, but we're going to move to the next slide and talk about coalition building. Shelby.
That's me. Thanks, Bill. Thanks, Maria, for that exciting update about the press releases result. So I actually this morning spent part of the morning in an information session that we co-hosted with Santa Barbara Foundation to recruit partners who are interested in joining the steering committee for the Digital Equity Coalition for Santa Barbara County. The steering committee is really designed to be a smaller group of a wider organizational partnership that really is looking at some of the data that we're collecting through the needs assessment and the speed testing, looking at data that all different organizations across the county have already or are gathering regarding digital literacy, regarding access, regarding affordability, regarding issues that community members are facing in actually being able to utilize the broadband connections that the infrastructure improvements are providing. And the steering committee is really going to be tasked with looking at that data and helping to analyze it and prioritize what are the important priorities for Santa Barbara County. And then working with partners, a much broader partnership across the coalition to really set the priorities, set an agenda, create a strategic plan, and help improve adoption rates across our county, and help set up and stand up digital literacy programs that are impactful, that are culturally responsive to the communities that are in our county, that are multilingual, and that are multi-level. When we talk digital literacy, some folks need help learning how to plug in and turn on a computer, right? They need help understanding the difference between what you can access on your mobile phone and what you can access on a large screen device. We have families that are concerned about the health impacts on their children of having internet in their homes. We have families that are concerned about safety on the internet. Those are all digital literacy issues. It also impacts our workforce, folks who need to develop basic skills in order to even access economic opportunity, and then those who already have a strong set of skills but need to upskill in order to grow in their careers or access additional opportunities. So the steering committee information meetings are going well. We're really excited. What is really exciting about it is that a lot of organizations are already doing this work, right? We learned through the Broadband Strategy Project that you've got folks in social services, you've got folks working with senior citizens, you've got folks who are working with behavioral health, libraries, schools are already doing work to help get devices out to families. They're already doing work educate people about the affordability programs. They already have digital literacy training that's appropriate for their communities. What was missing was an organization, a coalition, to bring all of those people together to talk in a larger scale about what's going on around the county, so that we can start to leverage the work that's happening by improving efforts, not duplicating, but maybe supporting, amplifying, elevating efforts of each smaller organization to really help connect the community. We are really excited that this model is taking shape. The framework was built actually out of some references around California and around the United States. There's other communities that are already doing this work. So we've been able to be in contact with them and look at their charters and look at their objectives, and then really drill down based on the broadband strategy plan and the information we've learned throughout this last year's process to build out a framework that works for Santa Barbara County. One thing that's important to think about with equity, the same thing doesn't work the same way for every community. So what works for Santa Barbara County may be different in San Luis Obispo County. It may be different in Ventura County. It doesn't mean we can't start somewhere and start the conversation, but really looking at what people need and how you can get it to them where they're at in their relationship with broadband is the key to starting to form a digital equity coalition. So we're really excited. I don't know if you saw my big applause for Jeff when he said that the Ventura County Community Foundation is ready to step into that and participate. And we're really excited to work with you to find out what works for the Ventura County communities to bring them together. I do want to add that this is not just CBOs. This isn't just private organizations. We are interested in engaging in conversation with private providers as well, so that they can learn from the organizations that are working directly with the community and start to really have a two-way conversation about what is available, what is possible, and what is needed in different communities. This also includes government. So we are trying to make sure that we have some relationship between the nonprofit world and the organizations that, or maybe even for-profit, but organizations that are working with community members and government offices that can benefit or leverage or even partner with those organizations to make sure that we're meeting objectives and that we can collect all the data we need to show, hey, this is working, or oops, there's a gap right here that we need to identify a resource for. So this is really something that we're hoping will be open, participatory, and ongoing. And that's the big picture update that I have for you today. We're still working out some details about San Luis Obispo County. Maria can maybe speak a little bit more to that if there's an update there. But other than that, we're ready to go. We're launching in Santa Barbara County. Our first open partner meeting will be in February. And up until that point, we're going to be working with the steering committee to finalize the charter, draft the objectives, and make sure that we're all prepared to start the work in early 2023.
Thank you, Shelby. And I got a couple of thoughts that I want to just throw out there as well to support you on this. One goes to Dr. Hughes, Kristen Hughes, that's with us, and this whole coalition building. She is an extremely passionate and articulate presenter dealing with children and the negative adverse effects that would come from too much screen time and the addiction and the things that could occur that could just be very disruptive to the child's development, as well as families, as well as the communities overall. And so she's approached us, and I think in terms of the coalition building, we need guardrails for the conversation. We need to know that for all the goods, there's risks, and for all of the things that are occurring, when it goes too far, how do you protect from this and that? It's like the responsibility of driving a car. Without the education, without the practice, without the structure, all technology could be very destructive. And so to have a place where this conversation occurs and stakeholders are welcome to be able to contribute to the conversation is going to make for a better holistic community. And I just think that I'm glad that she's joining us. She's passionate about this, and want to encourage her to continue to connect with you and the coalition as it unfolds and is formed, and be able to make sure that the points that she represents are going to be part of that conversation as well. Jeff, I'm going to get you a PowerPoint from the presentation that occurred this morning, so you'll be able to see what Shelby's talking about in the presentation that was made. And then, Julie, don't take your hands off the wheel. You don't need to say anything, but I did have a conversation with her last night. We were talking about this issue. We were talking about what's happening in Ventura County. The idea came up, Jeff, that perhaps in this, I'm thinking winter, early spring, have a regional event. It's a way of really pulling, we could create our steering committee, we could, bring in the stakeholders, and we could create this roadmap, if you will, in the next 3 to 6 months, but then really get everybody together knowing what they're coming into. If I look back at what we did in Santa Barbara County with all the outreach meetings, all the people on the panelists and the organizations they represented, they could fill a room. In terms of your community-based organizations and thing. And if you have them show up, you talk about the imperative, all of the stuff that we're talking about, pluses and minuses, all of this stuff, I think that would be a terrific launch, the early part of this next year. And so, Julie, I thought it was a great idea. And if we can start working that way down here in the South, and Shelby, I didn't mention it this morning, but, just planting the seed with you now. One of the goals we might want to have as we get through our CETF grant at the end of March is to be able to say we had some county-wide events where these conversations crystallized. And these are the organizations that we've been forming that are focusing on this stuff. Any other thoughts? I don't want to monopolize the conversation. I just get a little bit excited about it.
If I may, just as a San Luis Obispo and actually North Santa Barbara County internet provider, it's actually really refreshing to hear that you guys are working on this. Us as a business have been taking on a lot of this ourselves and alone. We just finished a ladder grant with the city of Shandon ourselves, working with AT&T, and we have a team that can also help the rest of the county with that too. We are very familiar with the digital literacy training, and that's something we have a department for here, just helping customers through signing up for the affordable broadband connectivity program and things like that, which we do offer our customers as well. It took us forever to figure out how to set all of this up because we tackled it alone and didn't really know who in the community we as a business could reach out to for support as well. So thank you guys. It's really refreshing.
That's great to hear, Austin, and I think we should connect about that, especially since you do some work in North County, Santa Barbara as well. But you're absolutely right. There's no reason to go at this alone. That becomes duplicative, right? Where there's more than one organization trying to do the same thing. and if we have the same goals, these are resources that can be shared and leveraged across multiple different communities.
And even if it comes to data sharing, we are totally willing to help anybody out with any data or information we have from our large customer base. We cover South Monterey County, all of San Luis Obispo County, out in the Cal Valley, and northern Santa Barbara County. We have a pretty large network over here on the Central Coast.
I love to hear that. Data sharing is always good.
That's great. And Terry, just closing out with you, the conversation we had the other night about getting county reps out of the respective agencies to be participants in this coalition building, in Ventura County. I'd like to work with you to get those contacts and be able to talk to them about what we're trying to do and make sure the county is included for all the people that are served in these communities. So,
sure, I'm on board with that.
Yeah. Any other additional topics about this as we get into the home stretch?
Oh, this is where I probably should talk. So
yes. No, we're going to go into stakeholder updates. So this is a good time for free form and status reports.
So since I started talking, maybe I should just go ahead and go.
Yes.
Okay, so we submitted for and we received our LADA grant. We're waiting for just the funding to be placed into our account. This money will be primarily used to support the final design efforts for our municipal middle mile, which apparently is not held in high regard in some places in the state. But I'm still convinced that regardless of broadband for all or any of the other things discussed on this call, that our county needs to have fiber to connect our facilities. And if that fiber can also be used to enable communities, I think that's also great. And we definitely want to support that. What was interesting, kind of the big news for, and the RFP, if it's not out, it's going to be out shortly for our partner to join us in the getting this middle mile project started. We'll identify a partner that's willing to work with us on a grant basis and provide some of this matching funds. And we'll be working with them as soon as we complete the RFP process and select a vendor. What I think is a big point that I learned, I spent last week at Gartner Symposium in Florida, and we were talking, I was talking to some of the analysts about about broadband and radio, and they pretty strongly steered me away from fiber, pretty strongly steered me away from fiber and radio. You need some fiber infrastructure, but they really started to push towards 5G. I remember a conversation with Maria maybe a couple months ago, actually, where we were talking about, is cellular enough, or do we really need to have fiber? And surely what I found, based upon being in Florida with 15,000 of my closest friends, is it's pretty easy right now to swamp a single 5G tower with a bunch of people. Of course, I'm not sure that if I put 15,000 people in a couple of blocks, I wouldn't swamp the infrastructure either. But what we did find out is, the telecoms are providing wireless devices, so it's a cellular hotspot that's more than capable of handling a number of people in a household, which addresses the issue of, do you have the right equipment? I think, most young people get along perfectly fine with a small device, but people that are in school and people that are older need the larger devices, but this takes care of that. Most of our community does fine with their phones for most, maybe 80% of what they do. So the cellular connections, assuming that the 5G continues to build out at the rate that's going, is really a good option, I think, for a lot of people. For those that need the larger devices, then the wireless hotspot is a good investment for them. I give you a great deal on it. You have a data rate. The question is, would they rather have the free internet with the ACP, or would they rather pay for the digital, the 5G hotspot, and would government be willing to subsidize that? And I think what we've also found is that most people don't care about the $30. There are some that do. There are some very vocal people that do, but most people, that's not the reason why they're not adopting the internet. They're not adopting it for $30 or the ACP. They're not adopting it for privacy reasons. They're not adopting it for other reasons that seem to be more compelling to them. Trust issues, which, I still think we need to address. So I guess my summary of my status would be, we have our 500K from LADA coming soon. We have the RFP about ready to hit the street for our the first leg of our municipal middle mile, which we will complete regardless of what happens at the state level. And then we continue to look at other technologies, because at the rate we've been working on broadband for how long, Bill? 15 years. 5G came out 2 years ago. Yeah. And I think 5G is in a race with fiber, and I honestly think it's winning. That's an opinion, not a fact, not based upon any statistics we have so far. But I think as a CIO, I would be foolish to ignore the power of 5G and the rate at which it's being deployed. And by the way, I'm not interested in Skynet or Elon Musk or any of that internet technology at this time. I just mentioned that. That's what I've got.
Ubiquity will occur. It will be available everywhere eventually.
Yeah, I'm amazed at how many places I've gone now that my phone clicks into 5G mode way faster in terms of speed of adoption than I would ever have thought could have happened, given what happened with LTE. And when I'm on a 5G network, it's smoking. So I'm pretty impressed with what I've seen. And again, my by other than wanting to keep an eye on it. The speed at which it's deploying is going to beat the state's plan by years. And so I guess the question is, when we get there, the state's still working on deploying their $6 billion budget across the state. What's going to happen if a community start just moving to 5G? Yeah. All right. Anyways, sorry, that was longer.
Separate but related, Julie, keep your hands on the steering wheel. You know, we were talking about the fact earlier this week about the virtual schools and virtual connectivity, and the fact that, you know, you talk about availability of internet across the whole community to everybody. The schools are, you know, really the case in point. Heaven forbid we have another pandemic, but we've got to be able to have our community so much better positioned for students, for virtual schoolhouse learning real soon. In those conversations about having those kinds of technologies available where every kid you don't have to deploy the hotspots. I mean, you just have access available through the schools, the school system, and to the kids, wherever they may be, just because it is. And so those are interesting conversations that need to be part of all of this. Any other comments on this topic? Anything Terry said before we move on to any other status updates?
Just real quick on LTE 5G technology. Ranch Wi-Fi, we are a WISP. We are a wireless internet service provider. So we're definitely not a fan of Starlink or Elon Musk ourselves. But 5G, that's actually something our consumer base talks with us about a lot. They more so not about the technology itself. They're honestly more worried about the isotropic radiation because of how much power that type of technology actually needs to push those signals that far. And whenever with the state's plan going 100-100 symmetrical, I myself also, with the engineering background, have concerns on, I'm very familiar with cellular, and it's just, frankly, on a scalable point, it's not capable of doing 100-by-100. Pull out your phones next time you're connected to 5G and run a speed test real fast. You'll see 100-by-20, but not 100-by-100. So I would be interested to see how they scale that technology themselves.
I would agree. I'm interested too. I mean, I've always been concerned about, you know, the radiation element of this thing, yet 99.99% of everybody I know has a cell phone glued to their face or the side of their head 24/7. Well, maybe not 24/7, maybe 18/7. So there doesn't seem to be a big concern about that. So unless the healthcare industry kicks it into gear and claims that's going to be a national health risk, and even then, I'm not sure it would matter. That's where most people are getting their internet right now, is they're getting it from their phones, regardless of age.
I couldn't agree more.
If I might inject some logic at this point in time that might help in this conversation. Terry and I go round and round on 5G versus fiber quite a bit, I would say. Bill, you've been witness to some of those conversations.
Yeah.
I just want to remind the group, though, you know, I think Terry makes a very important point, and that is the emergence of 5G and wireless technologies and LTE, the long-term evolution of wireless. Wireless is certainly going to be playing a much larger role in our lives than it has. The technologies are more robust. There are some drawbacks to it in terms of aesthetics, in terms of placement, in terms of cost, in terms of health concerns and others. But we all do need to remind ourselves that deployment of 5G, and if you take a look at Crown Castle or American Tower or anyone else that Crown is buying, 5G or any other wireless technology relies heavily on fiber. A tremendous amount of fiber, a lot more fiber than was typically used for other wireless technologies such as 3 or 4G. That is going to continue. There is no support, no wireless backhaul today or anywhere in the labs that is being worked on that is going to provide a solution for not having fiber to deploy wireless. So Terry's point is very on point and key in that wireless will become last mile in many cases or most cases, but fiber and a hybrid fiber and wireless network is needed. Fiber in the middle mile, the long haul, and fiber into the hybrid neighborhoods for fiber and wireless. Good points, Terry.
Yeah, and thank you, Joy, for that clarification. And Joy's right. We go round and round on this. I don't think I've ever debated that we need fiber for middle mile for that type of support for those wireless systems. So I'm absolutely in agreement with that. And that's why we're still pushing on our middle mile project, because we need that fiber infrastructure to support whatever the long-term solution is. I'm just based upon some feedback I got last week and other points along the road. Seems like the idea that we're going to invest heavily in last mile fiber seems to be starting to come down on my list of priorities, and the wireless side in terms of research, analysis, and understanding the actual value we'll get out of that and the risks is moving higher up on my list. But the middle mile is required regardless, whatever we do. So thank you, Joy, for that, making that point. Appreciate it.
Hunsinger made that point from Golden State Network's position the other day as well, that clearly the whole point of the statewide network is to provide access to wireless providers to any particular community they may want to go to, and give them the fiber access point to get there. So.
Yeah, and wireless may end up being not only the connection for the prem, but the connection for all smart city applications. And so we're seeing that pumps, meters, sensors, cameras, and meshed wireless Wi-Fi, et cetera, CBRS and other backhaul opportunities, either low bandwidth or high bandwidth, are all sort of thrown into the mix to provide that last mile solution or that edge connectivity. So wireless has a very big role to play, but we just need to remember that the infrastructure is still going, the core infrastructure is still going to be fiber. And just one other little point. I'm sorry, I won't deviate from the topic since there's other.
Go ahead. Was it a separate point, Joy? Or
no, it's just going back to the LATA awards. I just wanted to say hoo-yah to the city of San Luis Obispo. They did get their LATA award grant awarded.
Great, Rich.
Yeah, I was just going to reiterate the point that the other guys were making too, because we've seen that even with the rollout with Verizon Wireless and AT&T here in town. Is like anything they're doing is dependent on fiber. And then, when we start talking about 5G, there's so many flavors of 5G also. It becomes that whole thing of what are we talking about? I mean, the rollout has been really simple because so much of it is just, a minor change out of radio equipment and stuff, but they're using their 4G infrastructure. So yeah, it's rolling out really quickly, but at the same time, when you really look at the ultimate deployment of 5G, which is the high band and essentially, an antenna in every block of the city before it really starts working with the dream of what 5G is about. So like I say, it's such a convoluted issue that I think a lot of that has to be settled out too. So I agree with what Terry's saying is that it has a part to play. It's a very big part to play, but it's like, yeah, it's so dependent on fiber. And that's what sort of slowed it down here in our city is just the amount of fiber that Verizon and AT&T need to make it work.
Yeah. Any other comments? Jamie, any kind of Ojai update?
First, I just want to say that Jeff and Bill, if you do something in the spring to launch more of the Ventura County, please include Ojai, and I'd be happy to see anything we could do to help because I love that idea. So keep us in mind on that. Bill, your comments about Caltrans really hit me because just 2 days ago, I was driving down the 33, which is considered a key key artery for the state map as middle mile and also for the Ventura County map. And Caltrans was ripping up miles of the road going north-south there. And I'm just hoping that sometime soon we'll be able to be communicating with Caltrans, because my gut feeling is there's no conduit going in there as they're resurfacing all this. And so I'm not sure how soon, but the 33 is always going to be, I think, our one way in to get the fiber to us. And so anytime I think that Caltrans is going to be doing this, I don't think they're going to go back and want to rip up what they've just surfaced. So that's kind of something I just saw 2 days ago. And then your comment made me think, I wonder, is Ventura County at that stage yet with Caltrans?
I think we're not quite. No, in fact, I think I forgot who I was asking yesterday. Maybe it was Jory and Terry. We have a different Caltrans group in the south and for Ventura County. We have the northern Santa Barbara and San Luis Obispo counties. It's a different district, and so I personally have not talked to anybody from Caltrans as it relates to Ventura County, but it's on our to-do list. I think Jory has been in contact with them off and on. And so I know that a couple of times we've met with them related to the middle mile network conversation and design. And so I don't know when we talked with them last, but yeah, it's I just haven't been read in on that.
I speak to Eric Hunsinger every 2 weeks. We have a phone call and we talk about planning throughout the state of California. They want to hear very much what's happening down in the trenches, and Magellan helps them. We help them and inform them for not only LADA applications, but we've been working with them now for about 3 months, 3.5 months on the design. They are very responsive, as has been said earlier in this call, not only to what communities are doing, what communities are planning, but they're also very responsive to what service providers have to offer. And they put out a call for interest to service providers. And Lewis, Fox, and Eric and company were somewhat overwhelmed in the response. And we were all very glad to hear that many service providers, even those that we didn't expect to hear from, are joining in the state middle mile. So I think it was Bill who said some of this might be leased and then not all be public. That is an accurate statement, although it's not de facto yet because it hasn't taken place. But these conversations are ongoing. They are happening. We are very close to Eric and what his design plans are for Ventura County. And we are now looping. We have talked to Caltrans on a couple of occasions, but it's now time to talk to Caltrans again. This is a very interesting dilemma. The reason being is that the state is designing and planning its middle mile network at a time when, and it's almost done, at a time when it's issued a LADA application window and is accepting applications and hearing from local communities about what they're going to do with last mile. Well, that is good because they need to be informed about what the communities are going to do with last mile. But many of these communities are building sub-regional middle mile off the state's open access middle mile to actually connect to that last mile. So the timing is strange because the state's already done with its design, but they didn't hear from the communities on what they're designing. So this is just a conundrum that we're faced with. It's just timing and the rest of those things. So these things need to be corrected. These conversations do need to take place. Some form of agreement between the state and those organizations that are getting their LADA awards to plan for these sub-regional middle miles and last mile will be taking place over the course of the next 4 months. But let's complicate this matter even further. That's only LADA. That's only planning. What about last mile when it comes out in Q1 or Q2 of 2023?
Yeah.
There's no guarantee that these communities are going to get their last mile money to do what is needed, maybe in their parlaying that they are doing currently with Caltrans and with the Golden State Network, with Eric and his group. So this is something that we have to watch very closely, and we have to stay on guard, but we also have to communicate with them on a regular basis.
Hey, Jory, something just occurred to me as you were talking, and maybe you know the answer. So, one of my challenges is people have been working on broadband for a decade at least, and it doesn't feel like a whole lot has changed, at least to me. Of course, I've only been doing it for a year. But so the state announced their projects. So does somebody is there someplace where I can go where I can see the actual construction schedule for those 18 projects that were approved? Because that was months ago. And at this point, I would expect somebody would have put together a construction plan that would give me some confidence that maybe in the third or fourth block of 18 projects, something in one of our counties would materialize.
I have not. I think that exists somewhere at a higher level within Caltrans that I've not been able to tap into yet, but it is available on a district by district basis. We do know that the 18 initial projects, most of them are currently in construction and underway. And we've talked to clients and they know it. They see it when they look out their windows or when they're driving to and from work. So we know the state's been very aggressive, and they are. I'm not sure if they're going to meet all of these deadlines. We'll have to see. We've got a few years to watch for that. But they certainly are starting as aggressively as they said they would.
Good. That's good news. Thank you.
Yeah. John. You're muted, John.
Thanks, Bill. Really a response to Mr. Terry Theobald over at Ventura County, that question regards where do you find these particular Caltrans projects? I recommend in your county talking to Ventura County Transportation Commission, because in that particular commission, there's a Caltrans representative that shares, that should be sharing their projects. In Santa Barbara County, we have the Santa Barbara County Association covers, which has a Caltrans representative that the local agencies here ask about certain Caltrans projects. So I just wanted to provide that advice. That's all.
Yeah. Thank you, John. That's actually very helpful. So Jory's actually helping us work with VCTC. So Jory, do we have a Caltrans representative in that?
Yes, we do, and we're reaching out. We should be talking with him within the next week and a half.
Great. So just so you know, I haven't mentioned that in a while, but we're working with VCTC as to obtain the right of way for our construction project. So we're working on an agreement with them, which Jory's helping lead the charge on. So good to know that there's a Caltrans person there, because they can help give us some additional information, again, primarily just to make sure that we can. I'm a project manager by trade, I guess. I've been doing it for 40 years. And so when somebody's committed to do something, if I can see what their actual schedule looks like, I can then connect what I hear to what I see and assess what the likely outcome is going to be. So thank you, John. Appreciate that insight.
Terry, you're going to get the actual District 7 director there. You're not going to get a Caltrans transportation engineer. So you'll be talking to the right person.
Great. Yeah, I like it. Thank you.
That's great. Other comments? Appreciate all this feedback. Well, maybe I can give you back 15 minutes. So is there any other comments for the good of the order before we dismiss?
I do have one comment, Bill, if I might. Sorry. So many of you or some of you are expecting to get LADA awards. Some of you are probably still in the process of submitting LADA. Some of you are probably panicking that time is running out and, oh my gosh, what do I do? Many of you might be emailing Megan at the moment. And I just want you to know, that there is about $20 million left, or maybe even more, because not all of the submittals are going to get approved. So that's one thing. So you do have time. Please know that there are, many of these firms, they take their time and it might be a little bit different. Some take 2 weeks, others take 3 weeks, some even take 4 weeks in which to put this together. So if you are reaching out to a grant writer, make sure that they are, one, they've got the capacity, two, when can they get it completed? Three, are they going to be able to do this turnkey, or what role do you have to play and what data do you need to submit? And four, who's going to handle the technical side? There needs to be, in many cases, a scope of work. That scope of work is very technical. Some grant writers are capable of handling that technical scope of work. Others are not. So we strongly recommend that you look at all of these points when you're evaluating grant writers, at least for LADA. Well, actually for LADA, Community Connect, Reconnect, and all of the above. And even EDA, if that ever comes back around again. But please know that when you do get your LADA awards, be prepared for turning around a letter of consent and submitting a payee record to the state within 30 days. Because if you don't, and you're not prepared for that, and for some reason you have to go to council for approval or to your board, and you're outside the 30-day period, your award is voided, unfortunately. So all of that work will have been for naught if you're not prepared to be able to turn around the response to that award letter within 30 days after you get it.
Good lesson learned. I do have one more topic just before we adjourn, and that is we're going to, as a consortium, we're going to fly below the radar for the next couple of months. These meetings are typically the fourth Thursday of the month. And that is the 27th being today. And so next month, the fourth Thursday is like Thanksgiving. And then we get into the Christmas season in terms of the fourth Thursday. And so we're finishing up our grant for CPUC on this next Monday, the 31st of October, the last day of this month. And our CPUC work is going to be on hold until we get the next funding cycle, maybe a month or two from now. So we're going to continue to operate as a consortium, but we'll be flying below the radars. If there's anything you need, anything you want to talk about, we can convene a meeting at the drop of a hat. We can continue to get the word out on an as-needed basis as well. But just because we're not going to be meeting over the holidays as a group like this doesn't mean we're not continuing to keep the conversation, keep the ball rolling, if you will. But I did want to mention to you that we probably would not be connecting again like this, perhaps this year. And so that's the plan at this moment. And but those plans can change in these exciting times. Any other topics? Going once.
I would just like to say again, thank you again for allowing me to join. Maria was awesome meeting her for the first time this past Monday. We even brought the owner of our company, Ben Corman, in because he's the one who handles all of our grants and meeting with everybody typically. It's really motivating for us as a little company to just hear everything moving around in the background. I would just like to extend our hand again. We have an exceptional team of very, very talented engineers. We can do grants, we can do LADA for you guys and help build data. So when it comes to San Luis Obispo County, when things start moving up this way, please do not hesitate to reach out to Ranch Wi-Fi. We're very well versed on this community, and it is suffering poorly in regards to availability for broadband.
Austin, we're going to take you up on that.
Please do.
Yeah. Going twice? All right, everybody. Have a good weekend. It's right around the corner. We'll talk to you soon. Thank you so much for showing up.
Bye, everyone.
We'll talk to you later.
Thank you.